Hi everybody, welcome back to Boston. We're deep into our coverage of IBM Think 2025. My name is Dave Vellante. Yesterday was sort of Analyst Day. We did an Ask Me Anything with Arvind and a number of other executives. We're super excited to have Ritika Gunnar back on theCUBE. She's the General Manager for Data and AI at IBM. Ritika, or as we say in Boston, Ritika Gunnar is here. Welcome, so good to see you, and thank you for spending some time with us.
Thank you, Dave. It's always a pleasure to be with you.
So let's start with your role. What's the scope of your responsibility at IBM? Help us understand.
So I'm the General Manager of Data and AI, and with that scope, a lot of the capabilities that we're driving under Watsonx are in my portfolio, both the product engineering and design aspects of it.
So all the cool stuff.
All the fun stuff. I feel like I have the best job.
So you've been talking to a lot of clients, obviously. Gen AI is on everybody's mind. Of course, even agents. Agents is this sort of new, you got to take a shot every time you say agent word. What are the themes that you're hearing from customers that resonate?
You know, we are looking at a world where when you think about what's progressed in this world of AI, we started with AI that could generate with you. Think about like, you know, generating content, summarizing kind of things. Then it was AI that could chat with you. Now we're in the realm of AI that can do for you. And this is a very powerful new chapter. And I don't want people to underestimate like this world of where we're going through with agents is a lot more powerful than even the previous two chapters, and we're hearing that from a lot of our clients and the use cases that they're driving and how they're actually leveraging the technologies. This is a very, very poignant time in technology, and we really think that there is a new era, what we're calling the era of systems of intelligence, that is really forming because now agents can do for you. They don't just chat with you, they do for you. They don't just interact for you, they actually automate, they actually execute, they actually orchestrate for you. And this is really powerful.
So we had a podcast series, it's kind of a weird question, but I want to pick your brain on this. It was called The Road to Intelligent Data Apps. And what we were trying to understand is how applications were changing based on what you just said. And we just changed the name of it to, you know, software as a service. We changed it to services as software. So when you had SaaS come out, in the cloud, enabled that. You had HR, you had CRM, you had ITSM, pick your favorite SaaS. So we're trying to squint through and say, okay, when you flip the model on its head and have systems of agency that can act for you, what kind of new services are going to emerge? And so what are your clients pushing for?
I think it's a great, great question, because like if you look at now that every application is going to have its own agents, you're going to need to orchestrate across of those agents. My fundamental belief is we're going to see a very new interaction paradigm. If you think about it, I don't want to interact with thousands of different agents. I want one interaction paradigm to be able to interact across all the applications and all the systems that maybe even I want to customize. And so I think what we're going to see is the future of software is going to be defined by the AI agent. It's going to be defined by a new interaction paradigm that we are yet to really build. And I think this is happening now, because if you think about it, you have agents in all of your ERP and your CRM systems. You have agents that you've built to actually exist and encompass your existing fixed flows. But you're going to want to interact with them in only one way going forward.
All right, I'm going to set up a spectrum here.
Yep.
On one end, you got Clippy. On the other end, you got agents going to take over the world. And in the middle, you have Switzerland. That's you guys. Okay, so, and there's truth to all of it. Nadella says that SaaS is going to become just agents talking to CRUD databases.
Yep.
Benioff, insults Satya and trolls him, saying, that's not sophisticated. We have the data cloud and we have the harmonization. You guys have it.
It's in the middle, because you're going to need both, right? You have systems that you have already built. You're not going to agentify all of it. Those maybe end up being tools that you can actually call into. And by the way, not everything has to be something that you can plan, execute, reflect on, and have like that iterative agentic world. There's some things where you are just fine with having it be a fixed flow. You are just fine with having it call into existing systems. And so being able to have a good balance of bringing the benefits of agentic technology that can do for you, that can automate for you, that can drive new things, and have it live alongside your existing systems is really critical. So that medium of not only meeting in the middle, but then being able to execute across agents that you've built, across agents that exist in your third-party systems, across stuff that maybe you have done from accelerators that we have given you, and your fixed systems is important. Your existing estate is really critical in that discussion and bringing along your clients in this journey so they can see that as quickly as possible.
So I totally buy that. So that says there's a lot of workflows that it's fine if they're hard-coded microservices.
Exactly right.
They work. We don't have to they're not broken, so we don't have to fix them. And then there's this really exciting world where you have access to metadata and business logic and process data, and you can create malleable workflows that fit the market conditions, and that's a really exciting and maybe futuristic, but maybe not that futuristic.
That's right.
And so that's a real thing. Now, I want to ask you, so there's truth, my point is there's truth in both sides.
That's right.
SaaS not going away, and there's really a need to harmonize data and have an agent control framework and all
That's
this
right.
strong engineering stuff that you guys do. But Switzerland, you guys, you want to have horizontal agentic. So not only do you want to do this for your own estate, you want to be the premier enterprise platform across
That's exactly right.
Any clouds, heterogeneous applications, et cetera. To do that, you're going to need access to those back-end systems. And so, help us understand how you deal with that. Do agents do that? Does AI do that? And how you harmonize all that data, how you control the agents, and control, maybe I should say govern, but we think about an agent control framework. You've got all the pieces, put them together for us.
Yeah, there are a couple of different levels. I mean, at the first level, like at the foundation, you need to be able to have access into your enterprise systems, those systems that matter. In some cases, those are actually exposed as tools. So if you think about MCP, and MCP being a very common framework that almost everyone is using to be able to expose their applications as tools, that is the way that then you get access to those systems. Now, of course, from our perspective, we've also built pre-built integrations with a number of enterprise systems just because of the foundation that IBM has always had. We have always had like the deep relationships into the CRMs and the ERP systems and all of the enterprise systems that we know our clients use. So that's the foundation of it. But then built on that is the ability for you to be able to create your own agents and to be able to create your own tools or to be able to use the pre-built tools that we already have. We announced this week the ability to be able to do pre-built agents in human resources, in sales, in procurement, and we have a number coming in customer care and finance and other particular domains. And then on top of that, the ability to be able to have multi-agent orchestration. This is really where the power is of how do you orchestrate across all those different layers. And then as I talked about at the beginning, having a new interaction paradigm to work across this multi-agent orchestration framework, across all those systems, whether those be agents, tools, or anything else underneath.
So I want to get to what you announced, but I want to actually tap your brain on MCP. Correct me if I'm wrong, MCP is going to give you access to the data, the metadata, the operational, the technical metadata.
Absolutely.
But not the process logic, or maybe I'm wrong about that.
The process logic is stuff that we're building with that. So if you think about the processes that exist in terms of how you go hire someone or how you actually go do prospecting, those are things that we're building alongside of that. So you may have access to data, et cetera, but those are things that you can actually build as tools, and we can work with these systems to build as tools. I also think some of these protocols, given where we are in the nascency of how agents are being built, they will mature as well. So where they are today is a point in time statement, and where we'll end up going will be more mature as well.
Zeus Caravalli yesterday in the, I think it was the Rob Thomas AMA, said, well, I can't put a Slack message into Teams. And he's pointing that out as a metaphor for software companies, SaaS companies that just want to create more stovepipes, was kind of his implication. And then I think about, there's like one of your partners, Celonis, is suing SAP. SAP's basically making the argument that, well, that's customer private data, but that's an example of our industry just trying to hang on.
Oh,
but
yeah.
the customers want what
One
you're
interaction
offering.
paradigm.
They want, so my question is it going to be an opt-in? Because some people say to me, well, SAP's going to win that lawsuit because they're going to argue privacy, but if I opt in as a customer, whose data is it?
If it's your
it should be
data,
my data, right?
if it's your data as a customer, it's your data.
That's what I would think. So if it's my Salesforce data or my SAP data and I want to expose it to Watson, I should be able to do that, right?
Well, we have partnerships there, right? Like they are deep
those happen to
partners
be two
with
good
us.
partners.
I mean, those are really, really good partners. Not only do we work with Salesforce Agentforce in a bi-directional manner, that is a really good partnership for us. Maybe that's not like a great example from that aspect, but yes, you're right in terms of what needs to happen there.
So, okay, so we don't have to pick a name, but let's pick hypothetically a bad example where they don't want you to get access to that. So that's going to happen because customers force it, right?
Look, clients have their ability to do and to orchestrate across their systems where they need to. Now, if an application doesn't expose what is necessary via MCP, APIs, or whatever, it's the customer's choice to do with that application what they want or to move somewhere else, depending on how they want to run their business.
I mean, the market's going to be fragmented. You're going to get some of that is going to be in its own little walled garden, but the future is open. We've proven that. IBM's doubled down on open, more than doubled down. So we really think that is the big part of the market.
It is about open, it is about being hybrid, even in this sense, because we know agents are going to run everywhere. Your systems are going to exist in many different formats, in agentic and non-agentic. So even from that standpoint, you can almost overload that hybrid term from that aspect as well.
How do you, I think a lot of people gloss over the importance of harmonizing all this disparate data. And I always use the example, well, how do you know if it's ARR or NRR or bookings or calendar year or fiscal year, et cetera? How do you harmonize all that data? Sometimes I get the answer, well, AI will figure that out. Sometimes I get the answer, no, we had to do the hard work with knowledge graphs. How do you guys think about that harmonization layer? Well,
I definitely think AI assists in that, but AI assists in ways to be able to actually extract metadata in a lot more automated fashion, and then to drive the relationships in and around that. That is actually one of the other announcements we had at the show this week, which is that from our perspective, we're at a very critical point where generative AI can actually unlock a new class of workloads, which is the unstructured data, which is document data. And so we believe that we're going to see an explosion of the 90% of unstructured data that today has been untapped, unlocked by the fact that we can now use Gen AI to be able to have much better document understanding. And some of the stuff that we announced was that we have the ability to be 40% more accurate in unlocking unstructured data than other things that are out there in the market. And this is really valuable because now you're unlocking structured and unstructured data, and you're untapping a whole new set of intelligence that's now available. So this is also where we're using AI and agentic technology to unlock something that I think we're going to see an explosion of true intelligence from data that we have never had before.
So awesome. I really truly do believe in that vision, Ritika. Take me through the announcements that you guys made today. You mentioned document understanding. I mean, some of the RPA vendors could do document understanding, so I'm interested in what's different, what you guys have that's more comprehensive, but specifically, what did you guys announce this week that you're excited about?
There are a number of announcements. Let me start with what we did in data. So we announced the next evolution of .data to really unlock unstructured data for the enterprise. And this really is about the end-to-end workflow from unlocking unstructured data and really pipelining that data into having different derivatives to where as you search in and around data, you're doing that in a more accurate fashion. And if you break down the components, there's a piece of data around data ingestion, where we announced a new product with Watsonx data with Watsonx Data Intelligence. We announced new products with Watsonx Data Integration to be able to have real-time and streaming data. And as you're pipelining and doing the document understanding, as you're cataloging that data, as you're extracting more metadata and putting that into a semantic layer, we announced Watsonx Data Intelligence. And then with that, all of this is included in Watsonx.data, which is really about unlocking unstructured data into the Gen AI lakehouse. The second series of...
Can I ask a question about that? When you say semantic layer, like a lot of times that's why I use the word harmonized, because sometimes
harmonized is probably a better definition.
Because people confuse that. So, but that's your IP,
it is about,
right?
Yes, that is our IP.
Great, it's a super important layer.
On the second side of that, so if you think about how do you really use generative AI to unlock unstructured data, that one side of that is for IT, and that's where Watsonx.data, Watsonx.data Intelligence, Watsonx.data Integration comes. On the other side of that is really lowering the barrier of access of generative AI to the business. This is where Watsonx Orchestrate comes, and where we really believe now that anyone in the organization has the ability to create AI agents, to use AI agents, to orchestrate them across the environment as we just discussed, and to be able to have this new interaction paradigm. So you can almost see them as two sides of the same coin, unlocking data, one for IT, one for the business.
So, that last piece, we talk about democratizing AI.
We're here.
Can you describe the experience for a business user that's not a developer, doesn't know Python code, doesn't want to ask some LLM to write Python code for them? What does the experience of that user look like?
Yeah, we did a really simple demo. It was actually in less than 2 minutes, where one, you could start with existing agents that exist in the market, but let's say you wanted to build your own agent. It's as simple as give the agent a name, give it a description. Remember, we can now use natural language to be able to describe what you want an agent to do. You can give it knowledge. Knowledge is like, give me a set of documents that you want me to ground my agent in. How do you want it to become intelligent? What do you want it to be intelligent in? Give it a set of PDFs, give it a set of repositories to be able to access. And then the third thing is, give it a set of tools. Tools are like, hey, connecting to your existing systems that exist today, or another set of agents that it could collaborate. And finally, we talk about guardrails. Guardrails, another way of saying that is, give me guidelines. Tell me what my agent should and should not do. All of this in natural language. You can effectively do that in 2 minutes in a really simple user interface and deploy it for use, and you have it available as either a chat interface or in the tools where you love to work, whether that be Slack, we talked about Teams, we talked about anything where you work, you can bring that experience.
I want to make an observation and get your thoughts on this. So, the observation is that the point of control is moving from the database to the governance catalog, which by the way is becoming open. And so the point of value continues to move up the chain toward intelligent apps. There's two, what we think are emerging, very high value pieces of real estate. The harmonization layer, semantic layer, which you have IP around, and what we call the agent control framework. Governance is obviously part of that. So my question is around governance. It's a non-negotiable. How are your clients thinking about governance? How are you helping them? You have your own sort of governance tooling. There's plenty of partners that have governance. There's companies that are dedicated to it. There's open source governance catalogs. There's all kinds of, there's iceberg tables, all kinds of things are opening up. And it injects a lot of confusion for customers. So, first of all, do you buy that premise that the value, a point of control is shifting, but the value is even going further up the stack? And what is that governance, what's the right governance strategy that you're prescribing for customers?
Well, I do think that the real value is moving to where anybody can have access to data as long as they have the rights to be able to do that, right?
Right, sure.
And so that means that the power is now in the hands of those that as long as you have the rights to the data, you can do what you want and what you need to with it. Now, we had a group of CXOs together last night, and almost every single one of them said, when I said, what's the biggest barrier for you to accelerate how you're driving agentic behaviors in your organization? number one response was governance. And it wasn't as much as the risk and compliance aspect, although I think that is an issue. It was more of, I just want visibility. I want a clear view, just like we have, DevOps in your applications. How do I give DevOps into how AI, especially AI agents in this case, are actually evolving to? And so that is an area of focus for us, where it isn't just about data governance, it's about AI governance, and I think we're going to see this converge into something that is going to be truly important for organizations to really understand how decisions are made so they feel very comfortable around putting their AI and their agents into production. Of course, we've always done it for the machine learning and the large language models, now extending that into this new era of agents.
I was listening to the Berkshire Hathaway annual meeting. It's always an epic day. And it was struck by Ajit Jain, who runs the insurance side of the business, the Geico and other insurance. He was saying, look, AI, we believe in AI, we think it's the future. We're really not investing a ton in AI right now. We're kind of waiting, sitting back and waiting to see, which you see some percentage of the customers are doing that. I don't know if it's 10, 12%, but it's not, the majority are kind of leaning in some way, shape, or form. For those who haven't leaned in, but want to get started, what's the single smartest first move that you could advise?
There's some systems where the payback is immense and the rate of what it means if you get certain things wrong is low. So if you look at the most common use cases we see is like customer care. It's pretty easy to get started with something like that, where you can actually benefit your client very easily. And there's little downside in terms of, there is the customer relationship, but there is a proven kind of way to be able to go drive things.
Yeah, it's low risk.
Yeah, it's low risk. Yeah. Another one, like we see in IT, like you're already spending a lot to manage and to be able to go drive IT. Go ahead and try that there. You heard Arvind talk about how we have really done that in the back office. The back office is a great place to go start using AI. Why? Because if you can automate a lot of that, you automatically optimize what you're spending on that. And that has real implications of what you can then go do to innovate on the top line, which is what we see. And so as you build out the practices from that, you then evolve into something where there are no regrets.
So you came back to IBM, I called it boomerang back in.
I'm a boomerang back.
Share with the audience the feeling that you have with IBM today. It feels different. What's different?
It is different. There is an excitement, a buzz. We are focused. We are very intentional in what we're doing and the innovation that we're driving. I feel like we have an amazing team of people who are really laser focused on driving innovation that really matters for our clients. And we're seeing the results, as you can see from like the show that we've had this week. We have a number of clients that are using our technologies and really doing that to make a substantial difference to how they work. And I feel really privileged to be back and to be with the team that I have, to be able to be making that next big step change in technology. Yeah,
it feels like, I've been saying, IBMers have a spring in their step right now. They feel like they're on a winning team. Last question, what would you like to be able to say at Think 2026 that you're not able to say today?
I think that the AI agents I think there's going to be a major evolution of 2025 is the year of AI agents in proof of concepts. I think we're going to see that new interaction paradigm that I talked about. I think it'll be mainstream by 2026. Yeah,
so we'll be on that curve, and then from there, it'll hit the steep part and look out above. Ritika, thank you so much.
Thank you so much,
Great
Dave.
To see you.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you. All right, keep it right there. You're watching theCUBE from IBM Think 2025. We'll be right back right after this short break.